stay with me after the video to find out some interesting ways that you can celebrate the NBA 75th. The NBA playoffs are next week, and since they are next week, I wanted to dedicate this video to the NBA in some way. And since my mission on YouTube is to teach you some type of science, I want to combine basketball with physics. And to do that, I'll split this video into three main parts. What are these forces? What do they mean? And how they have significance in our day-to-day lives. And to do that, I will list the 5 main forces right now. You can rewind the video if you want to catch all of the forces that I list in this video. Potential energy, kinetic energy, gravity, friction, and inertia. Again, you can rewind the video if you didn't get all of those forces, but let's get into the first force, which is potential energy. Potential energy is when something or somebody is bound to move. That means if something is sitting still, it is expected to move. So let's say if there was a ball on the top of a hill. That ball has potential energy inside of it because gravity is somehow going to pull it down that hill. And in basketball, this can be of significance because when you catch a pass or when the ball rests to a stop on the floor, that means that kinetic energy in the ball has been converted into potential energy. So yeah, and that cuts into our next force, which is kinetic energy. Kinetic energy is the energy that is tied into somebody when they are in motion. For instance, with that mountain analogy, that ball is now rolling down the hill, and the potential energy has decreased, and then kinetic energy has increased. So for instance, in basketball, this can be applied when somebody is shooting or passing the ball to somebody, and if they're moving, that means they're in motion, and that's when the kinetic energy goes. So that leads into our next force, which is gravity. Gravity is a pull on something towards the center of the earth. So for instance, you and I are attached to the earth right now because of gravity, and we are being held on the ground and potentially going to be in the center of the earth one way or another. But yeah, in basketball, this can be described as if somebody is shooting, you have to find the right arc so that gravity can pull it down into the basket. So for instance, when Donovan Mitchell shoots a 3-pointer, he found the right arc and he sinks the basket, and that is gravity. And now let's get into friction. Friction is the force when two forces are rubbing against each other. The force that is on the bottom causes this top object to stop going. So, for instance, if I'm running along a trail, my foot is rubbing against the ground. The ground is allowing my foot to stop one way or another. In basketball, this can obviously be applied as if somebody is running across the court, their feet are making contact with the floor or more than about 3 times in a second. So their foot is moving against the court, and the court is allowing them to stop. And if there was no friction at a basketball game, they would just be sliding all the way over. That's if somebody did, if somebody rubbed the entire basketball court with butter or something like that. That makes it entirely slippery, and there is no potential friction ever to be found. And yeah, and that connects into our next one, which is inertia. Inertia is basically when something moves in a straight line. That goes to Newton's first law. An object in motion will stay in motion unless acted on by another force. So for instance, if I kick a ball along the floor, that ball will stay in that direction unless somebody else kicks it, or if it runs into something, that will cause it to go off trail and just change the speed and velocity of the ball. So, yeah, speed and velocity are the same. But anyway, this can be applied to basketball when somebody is dribbling a ball. The ball is going towards the ground at a straight line. If you watch a clip where somebody has done that, the ball is going towards the ground, and then it bounces back up. That's the portion. That's the that's the force that is being acted upon to make it change direction and velocity, and it bounces back up into the player's hands. Or if they want to keep on dribbling, it bounces onto the hand that is dribbling, and they push it down. So in theory, these 5 forces should have an impact to do in basketball. So these forces, just as a refresher, were potential energy, kinetic energy, gravity, friction, and inertia. These 5 forces have significance to do in a normal NBA game, and I encourage you during the games to go back to pay attention to the plays. Pay attention to when they're running across the court, or when somebody shoots the ball. Pay attention to the different forces that I taught you today, and after the playoffs, you can come back to this area and comment if you saw any of these forces. Anyways, so these 5 forces have significance to do in our daily lives, and I'm gonna teach you how. Potential energy. If somebody is on top of a slide, that potential energy is being charged up on into the person, because that person is expected to move one way or another. So, in kinetic energy, it's when that person finally decides to go down the slide, or if somebody is jumping off of a diving board, they finally built up the courage and the kinetic energy to go down into the pool or down to the bottom of the slide. Gravity has significance because I wouldn't be even making this video. You wouldn't be watching this video if there were no gravity on the Earth. Friction has significance because if there was no friction, everybody would be sliding around the place, and nobody would have balance if there were no friction. That's the equivalent of ice skating, where you have fluid motions because of that one thin layer of ice between the blade and the ice. So, and it's also the equivalent of sliding across the hardwood floor with socks on. That fluid motion causes you to have a bunch of kinetic energy, and inertia has something to do in the solar system. So the solar system is a group of orbiting planets, and gravity. So this is the sun. This is the Earth. Gravity is the force that's moving around the sun, but inertia is the force that keeps them close to the sun. So, yeah, if we didn't have inertia, we wouldn't even be alive, because there wouldn't be a sun that makes us happy and healthy as humans. Last video, if you haven't checked that out, and we wouldn't even be alive because, yeah. Anyways, okay, so that was the video. I hope you learned something new, and on to that bit that I was talking at the beginning, where if you want to, you can watch the bit and you can think of 5 new or interesting ways to celebrate the NBA 75th. This season is the NBA 75th anniversary, and right now I'm going to teach you 5 different and cool and interesting ways to celebrate the NBA 75th. Number 1, you can actually, there's a playlist on the NBA's YouTube channel called NBA Lane. You can watch all of those commercials, and they have a bunch of great content that you can watch. Number 2 is just watching an NBA game at home. If you want to, you can watch a 2-hour and 30-minute game that's on, and it's exclusive because it's the NBA 75th anniversary. And number 3, watch the playoffs next week. Next week is the NBA's playoffs, and there will come a time where you wouldn't have regretted this at all. Is that those 2 hours and 30 minutes of that championship game are worth it. And number 4, you can actually go outside and play a basketball game. If you really want to show your NBA spirit, just go outside, contact some of your friends and just play a regular NBA game. And number 5, just have fun. If you want to get a big party at the championship game and just have everybody celebrate the NBA 75th, then that would mean a lot to the NBA. And yeah. And this wasn't sponsored in any way. I just wanted to tell you guys how you could celebrate the NBA 75th. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks to the NBA for being so awesome and teaching us really good things that we need to play basketball for the last 75 years. Thanks to physics for playing a big role not only in basketball but our day-to-day lives. And of course, thanks to you for watching. See you later.